Hey, welcome to another edition of Cue It Up with the Q Brothers. I'm John Quattrucci.
And I'm Ralph Quattrucci.
Hey, Ralph, how you doing?
I'm living the dream.
We skipped a week. We're back at it.
Yeah.
And
you think anybody noticed?
Yeah, I got some comments. Yeah.
Really?
Some
From
people
who?
reached out to me.
I want a name.
Rose.
Oh, okay.
No, Rose doesn't even watch the show.
What was the last one we did? The last one was...
It was the movie review. No.
Excuse me, what?
Was Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters. That was the last one we did.
What was that? Who was that?
That was Rosie.
Oh.
She got back. She was out to dinner tonight.
Oh,
so
get her on.
Yeah.
Get her on. Let's go.
No, I'm not getting her on.
Okay.
She had enough. Did you see the look on her face while we were shooting that one?
Yeah.
So listen, before we begin, a little family thing, because this is a family show. Our Uncle John passed away last week.
Uncle John Vidal.
John Vidal. He was 69 years old. He had a battle with cancer, and he ultimately lost the battle. And it's sad. We have, my mother has 6 other siblings. So, they were from a family of 7. Now she's the only one left, and she just turned 83. So this was pretty sad because I think of everyone because their family lives on the Cape. We don't live on the Cape. So we weren't super close to our aunts and uncles on her side. Uncle John was the exception because he was always here. We always hung out.
Yeah, he lived with us for a while, too.
He lived with... Yeah, he did. That's right.
Yeah.
He lived with us. Yeah, he lived with Mom and Dad for a while, too, down the Cape. Yeah. So we were tight and always been close. And I posted this on Facebook so people know how I feel about it. But the last few years, him and I have done a lot of golfing together, and we've gotten closer. And as sad a time as it is... This was a guy who believed in living life to the fullest, no matter what was happening around him. And frankly, he was told that this was life-ending, his cancer, because it spread so far. They actually gave him, I think, like 4 to 6 weeks. Right. And he ended up passing in like 2 days, I think it was. Yeah. But from what I understand, he had accepted it. He was okay with it. And his big concern was how it was going to affect everyone else, including Mom. So that's just the kind of guy he was. Always had a smile on his face, and he's going to be missed. And tomorrow's the wake, and Thursday's the funeral, and Ralph's going to be up for that. But I just want to acknowledge that. I don't know if you want to say anything, Ralph.
He's exactly 10 years older than I am, so we've always had that. There's a story that involves 2 girlfriends, his ex-girlfriend and my ex-girlfriend, that I'll always remember Uncle John for. I think when he met Penny, Mom and I had to drive. He broke up with this girl named Betsy. I'll never forget this. I must have been 10, 11 years old. And we had to drive this poor girl home as she's sobbing, crying like a baby after Uncle John broke up with her. And I was confused. What's going on here? Mom was trying to explain to her everything. And there's that. And then flash forward 2018, I go to, Michael's wedding, and there was that little incident in the bus where my ex-girlfriend came on the bus and started screaming about me being right about something. And I'll never forget, I was in the back of the bus, and all I remember is looking, and Uncle John and Penny were at the front of the bus, and they just looked back at me and gave me this, what is going on? And it's sort of my bookend.
And you were sobbing.
I was not sobbing, but I didn't like the look they gave me. I felt like that was enough. So I have this bookend of him, girlfriend and girlfriend, that I just thought was good. And he, like I said, he was living with us. The guy was always around. He did everything for everybody. And Penny's fantastic. The whole family. Yeah. I think they're going to handle this probably very well. We're actually wearing Hawaiian shirts after the funeral to honor him, which I think is just fantastic. So it's going to be sad, and it's going to be life-affirming at the same time. Because those people down the Cape, they're kind of crazy, and a lot of people are going to be there for him, and I think it's going to be quite a show.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I look, he wouldn't want everyone to be sad. He'd want everyone to celebrate his life, and I hope we can. It's going to be tough because I got to tell you something. When I wrote the thing that I wrote on Facebook, I had trouble getting through it. And I'm not the most emotional guy in the world, but it's just he was too young. I mean, that's just way.
It is, but I just think the way he handled it and the way Penny's handling it, I just think makes it easier on everybody else. And I've talked to Mom a couple of times this week, And, she seems resigned. I mean, what can, she's the last one, and Dad is the
Well,
last
that's
one,
right.
too. They're both the
Right.
last in their families, their generation, and it's just kind of crazy.
Well, when you think, I want to live a long life as long as I'm healthy, and there's a lot to be said about that. But the downside is, you look at both Mom and Dad, who came from big families. They're the last ones left, so they've seen all their siblings pass.
I know.
It's got to be tough.
Well,
I don't know. But anyway, the last thing
We'll
I'll
be
leave you
dealing
with
with that very soon, I'm sure.
I know.
As old as we are. So, all right.
The last thing I'm going to leave you with is something he said to me, and this is about life. And I've tried to live by this, but he said it to me about 10 years ago. Because I asked him, I go, with all this crazy stuff going on, you still do all kinds of stuff. You're always doing something. And he said to me, John, life is not a dress rehearsal. I'll never forget that, and I will remember that for the rest of my life.
I hate to burst your bubble, and it's just, this is not the right time to burst your bubble, but I don't think that's his quote.
Oh, well, he said it to me.
I think
never
he might
heard
have said
before.
it to you.
Could be,
awesome. That's
but I
awesome.
never heard it before. And
I just
heard it from
remember
him.
his
Thanks.
looking at me when.
Can you edit this out, Ralph? Because I don't want to ruin the memory of my uncle.
No,
please.
not
So
ruin.
can
I
you
just
edit that out?
my memory of him is looking back at me, going, "What the hell just happened in this bus?"
The full circle,
right. And Penny too.
Okay,
but I'll be able to
that's
see her
our
tomorrow.
tribute to Uncle John. Rest in peace.
Rest
And
in
hit
power,
him
rest
long
in
and straight
peace,
up
yeah.
there. Okay, so Ralph, I want to do this in reverse. I
What?
want to start with StreamQuest. So let's get that
drop the
logo up there. We
logo in.
spent a lot of money on that
There
logo.
it is.
I don't know what it is, Ralph, but it looks better every week.
Well,
Okay, so what I wanted to
Fantastic.
talk about, and I've already talked about this a couple of times with you on the show, but now I've watched all 8 episodes. I think it was 8. Was it 8?
yeah.
8. I think it was 8.
It's 8.
The show Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Written and directed by James Gunn.
Well, he didn't
I
direct
don't think
all of them, but
not
yeah,
every episode,
right,
but he
right.
directed most of them.
Right.
And starring John Cena, and it's the DC universe,
Right.
and it is the best DC universe show. And when I first heard about it, I was like, how can they make a show out of this guy who in the Suicide Squad was kind of a dick, and you really didn't like him at the end? But they succeeded. So I know that you just watched all the episodes, right?
Yeah.
So give me your thoughts on the show.
I loved
right out of the
it.
gate.
I loved. Well, I watched the first 5, and then the last 3, and I loved it, and then I didn't love it so much towards the end, only because it's so freaking repetitive, and it's a sophomoric, which is what I love about it. Don't get me wrong, but the dick jokes and the this joke and the that joke and the father who's never going to go away and the, nobody in this team can really get hurt or killed. No matter what goes on, these guys all survive everything that goes on. I know.
the team leader died.
Yeah. Well, he was the butterfly, right? He's one of the
Well,
butterflies.
but he died.
Yeah.
I mean, he died.
So, and really the last one, the 8th one, was a real disappointment to me.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought you would have hated it based on the speech that woman gives him when she's trying to convince him.
I did.
Yeah, I
I
knew you
hated
would
that.
because that hit every woke thing
Yeah.
that James Gunn believes or
And,
whoever
and,
believes.
and what disappointed
it
me
just was
was
stupid.
they didn't do that for the entire show.
No, but this,
And they did it all in that
and frankly,
one
the
speech.
ending was a disappointment. The last show was a disappointment because it was just ridiculous.
I just
But
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
but John Cena is hitting it out of the park with this one.
Yeah.
Okay. The surrounding, like my favorite guy is Vigilante. I just think that guy who looks like a clean
Freddie
cut,
Stroma.
Okay, he's like a clean cut CPA, but he's a total badass, and I just love him. And he's also he's a busboy, right, at a restaurant.
Yeah,
stage
he's a
job as
busboy.
And I like all the interaction between all the and the guy with the dyed beard, who has his
The Economist.
he had his big moment in this one. I like the characters. I just felt like it just petered out towards the end. And this is the way I felt about Archive 81. You can't sustain that over 8 episodes, except Midnight Mass sustained it over the full episodes,
Yeah.
which so I shouldn't compare and contrast like that. But this one just waned on me, and it just got repetitive.
Yeah, I find that a lot of these shows, because they have to spread them to 8 episodes, there's probably not 8 episodes worth of story to tell.
Yeah. And
So
it feels stretched.
yeah, but I will tell you, I loved every minute of John Cena, who is so invested in this role, and the riffs that he does. like when they arrested his father, and they said, well, who do you think we should have arrested? And he goes down this long list. And then in the after credit scene, they showed the bloopers where he's throwing out other names. He's just so good and so funny. And there are times in the show where there's real heart, right? It's not all sophomoric stuff.
There's definitely some. There's some,
but he plays it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He plays it, which I really
Cena
like.
is the reason it works.
And the Vigilante, the two of them.
Well, Vigilante's just great.
That's a great character.
Yeah, he's
and
really
again, for people who don't know, the original actor who played the Vigilante left the show a week before they started filming, something like that.
Yeah.
And this guy was brought in at the last minute, and the guy he's a little nerdy guy.
Yeah.
But he's badass. He had a great fight scene that he kicked ass. Yeah. And they went from dismissing him as a clown to respecting him more.
You mean
right?
Peacemaker or Vigilante?
Peacemaker's character. Yeah. And Vigilante, too. Because they think he's a joke, but he ends up being pretty heroic in a couple of those scenes. And the woman, what's her name? Danielle Brooks, she plays the bad guy's daughter, Amanda Waller's daughter. Right. She's the one who ends up coming around at the end.
Of course.
She's really good.
Everybody comes around at the end. And the guy with the dyed beard comes around at the end. I mean, you know that. Now, I don't know how they're going to sustain this. They're going to do another season.
Yeah, he's going to write all the episodes, too, James Gunn.
I mean, because he's not...
So, I don't think they expected it to do as well as it did. It's a huge hit.
It's
huge.
I'm not surprised.
The numbers
I am surprised, because I didn't expect it to be good.
Yeah.
And
so I will say that the last episode,
the best part of this episode. Okay, go ahead.
The last episode where there's a speech where the aliens explain why they're doing what they're doing, and it's a complete woke...
Right.
Which is James Gunn.
I knew you
James Gunn. Yeah, but I mean, anybody who watched it would hate it because it was so completely out of place.
I didn't hate it that much.
But having said that, fine. Once I got past that, and that's the only thing about the woke thing that annoyed me about the show was that one thing. But what I did love was, and Ralph probably hated it, at the very end, the Justice League show up, and Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller actually filmed scenes for it where they're swearing back and forth. It was perfectly appropriate for the show because through the course of the show, Peacemaker's character rags on the DC characters. And one of the things he said was Aquaman screws fish on the side.
He didn't say screws, but yeah.
Well, I know. I didn't. Yeah. What does he say, Ralph?
He said Aquaman fucks fish. Just say it. This is not a PG-13.
For the kids at home, we'll beep that up.
No, we're not going to beep that up. But yeah, and Green Arrow has a costume with a hole in the ass.
With a hole in the back. Yeah. So I really like that. And originally they filmed the scene with Batman and Cyborg.
Well,
but
they had
DC
Spider-Man, they had Superman floating there, and they had Wonder Woman.
That's right.
Too.
But right. So they had actors playing Batman and Cyborg also, but DC wouldn't let them use it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. The scenes with Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa were filmed by Marvel while they were filming Guardians of the Galaxy. So they filmed the scene for DC to put in their show. And the guy who played the team leader that was the Butterfly, DC filmed a screen test of him to be in Guardians of Galaxy 3. So DC and Marvel cross-purposed each other and they worked together. So I thought that was really interesting. So DC does a great job with the animated stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, the best, way better than Marvel. And they just screw up all the live action shows. They're terrible. CW, it's all woke. It's terrible. This is a fun show. Great action. The scripts are good. I mean, Ralph's right. I mean, they got to fill 8 episodes.
Yeah, it's too much.
So it does have its moments, but I really enjoyed it, and I think you'll like it too. And I look, John Cena carries the show. It's his show. He's hilarious throughout the whole thing. And frankly, you don't expect that from a guy who's that big, but he's great. His comedic timing is excellent. Like I said, there are scenes with heart in it, and I really recommend this. If you like the comic book stuff, I think you're really going to like this, and I'm looking forward to season 2.
I hate the comic book stuff, and I liked it. It just dragged on.
Okay,
and in most of these series, like I said, Archive 81, same thing. So far, like I said, Midnight Mass is the only one that's been able to sustain over that long period.
Kept your interest,
and that's just great writing, and Peacemaker's fun, but it's not. It does.
It just grew a little older.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Mayor of Easttown was the same thing. I mean, some of those episodes were like, ugh.
It's all filler.
Some were
It's
great.
filler. It's filler.
Yeah, and that's not good.
And I don't know. Can
Okay,
this sustain
so-
another? I guess they're going to go another season, huh?
Well, yeah, because I think because it did so well, they'll probably have a bigger budget.
Yeah.
They'll probably be able to do more. So yeah, I think James Gunn's. I'm not a big fan of James Gunn, the human being, but he's a good writer, and he does some, and visually he does some really interesting stuff. Look, this character should have been nothing. I mean, in the comics, he was nothing, nothing, and he turned a nothing character into something pretty decent.
They really
that
did.
People wanted to
Gotta
watch.
give him credit for that. So. And Cena,
absolutely,
and Cena
I
had
do.
a lot to do with that, and he's executive producer. Look, I used to skip through the opening, the dance they do. Now I watch it every time. I just find that so funny and so ridiculous. It's great. All right, so but what do you want to talk about now?
Okay, so here's what I wanted to talk about. We just did a Peter Bogdanovich
Yes, we did.
show after he died. Well, Ivan Reitman just passed away.
Yes, he did.
And he was in his mid-70s. And I started to think about Ivan Reitman movies, and I said, you know what, let's talk about some of his movies, because first of all, I was surprised in the research that I did. I can't believe how many movies he produced.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, Ivan Reitman, I was a big fan of Ivan Reitman, I guess, because the movies that I really enjoyed and had impact on me, just to go down a quick list, Meatballs.
Mm-hmm. That was his first. First comedy.
I think that was Bill Murray's first film
Might have been.
which I really liked. He produced Animal House, which
He also
everyone-
choreographed the Otis Day and the Night's dance scene, the shout. He choreographed that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He choreographed that?
That's right. He used to dance like that, and that's what they did. And he made,
When they did the worm and everything?
he said, I had to take these 5 black guys who were in this band and the skinny white guys telling him this is the kind of dance. All the dancing you saw, he choreographed that whole thing.
I didn't know
including
that.
the just a little bit quieter now, that whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
A little bit louder.
He was on Charlie Rose. I was watching him on Charlie Rose.
I did not know. I should have watched.
Yeah.
I should have done some deep dive on this. But Stripes, which first half of the movie, absolutely brilliant and hilarious. Second half kind of sucks.
Oh, my
but
God. Sacrilege.
I love that movie.
Right.
And then Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Obviously, I kind of dismissed Ghostbusters 2. And we spent a lot of time talking about Ghostbusters when we did Ghostbusters Afterlife. But that was I think one of the top 5 comedies of all time for me. And that's Ivan Reitman. He also did Kindergarten Cop, Twins. Ralph, he produced Space Hunter, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone.
I didn't know that.
He produced that movie. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Now, did he have his clunkers? My Super Ex-Girlfriend. Yep. Evolution and Stop, or My Mom Will Shoot.
That was his.
starring
Did he
Sylvester
produce or
Stallone.
direct that one?
No, he directed it.
He also directed Dave.
Yes, which I love. I love Dave.
He produced Howard Stern's Private
Yes.
Parts. He's
Yeah.
the one who convinced Howard Stern to just do what you did in the book. Don't
really?
don't do the fart man thing. Don't do this. Just do what you did in the book, and he turned that into what it was.
I don't know his background. Is he from Second City? I mean, what's his background? How did he, Bill Murray and all those guys? How did he, Harold Ramis?
He mentioned that. I did a bunch of YouTube.
Was he on
searching.
National Lampoon?
I don't think he was. I don't know where he came out of actually to know all those people. It had to have been his relationship with Harold Ramis, maybe.
Well, he co-wrote Animal House, right?
Yeah, I think so.
With the guy from National Lampoon. I can't think of his name.
The kid who jumped off the cliff.
Yeah.
What are we, a bunch of idiots? That guy, he's in.
No, what are we supposed to do, you moron?
So I don't know. I actually don't know. I think Meatballs was his first comedy film. I think there was some other films he had done, or 1 or 2 serious ones he had done before that. I don't know.
But we talk about directors all the time. You have a couple hit or misses, but as I start to go down his list, it's like you realize, my God, he had one hit after
He's
another.
got a lot of hits. And he turned.
I can't get over it.
He turned non-comedians into funny people, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't expect that.
When I first heard about Twins, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm like, well, that doesn't even make any sense. And the movie was hilarious.
Yeah. And his sensibilities, I used to think it was a bit waka, a little bit broad, like fart jokes and stuff like that. But actually, Dave, if you ever seen Dave is like a serious film that's got funny moments in it. It's not a laugh out loud comedy. And it's brilliant. Dave is brilliant. I don't think I've ever seen Twins, so I have no idea. Obviously, Ghostbusters is huge. Ghostbusters 2 is okay. So yeah, but
Kindergarten Cop.
But he's got his fingers in so many different things. That I think he was a musician actually before he started. I think because he describes a lot of stuff in musical terms, the way he gets people together and how he puts stuff together. And lightning in a bottle, the Ghostbusters is just lightning in a bottle. How those guys, and that set him up for the rest of his life. And it'll also set up.
But that was now that was what was that? 84.
Yeah, 84.
Stripes was before that. Meatballs was before that.
Yeah, but Ghostbusters
Animal House
is the
was
one.
before.
I don't know. Stripes. He didn't direct Stripes, did he, or did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
he directed.
I thought that was
Ramis.
Harold Ramis. Yeah.
No, wrote it. So he had a great run, but you're right. That was his, I think, well, no, because he produced Animal House. Animal House was a gigantic hit.
Yeah.
I think that Ghostbusters was probably his first big budget that he ever had.
Yeah, he mentioned the
for a
budgets and they
movie.
were nothing.
Yeah.
In
fact, he said he guessed the budget. He had no idea what the budget was going to be because they didn't know how they were going to do half the stuff. But he was pretty accurate in it. So again, when I heard he died and I started, looking at his stuff, I'm going, Jesus, I really was into a lot of his movies and didn't even know it was him involved with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can't really say like we talked about with Bogdanovich.
No, he doesn't have there's
no distinct
Ivan
Reitman style.
No, that's what I mean.
Right.
Like a movie like Dave. You don't expect that to be his.
Right. You see Stripes, then you see a sweet, and Dave is a sweet movie.
Yeah.
It's a sweet movie.
That's wonderful.
And Kindergarten Cop was cute with some action in it.
Yeah.
Even Meatballs is a coming of age story, as goofy as it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. He was mentioning a bunch of stuff on this. The Charlie Rose interview was good because he really got into a lot. When he started talking about the budgeting of films, it was amazing how little money he had to spend to do something, especially Ghostbusters. How much they didn't have a ton of money, and the stuff they pulled off, and this, again. But that one's lightning in a bottle. It's hard to, everybody loves that film. It's amazing. Let me see. I'm just looking them up here. Well, you keep talking. Keep it.
Well, the thing that amazed me was I didn't realize how many movies he produced. Movies that you wouldn't think Ivan Reitman.
Yeah, like I'm looking. Look, I'm looking. Okay, so how many? I'm looking at. He's only directed 23 films. He produced 93.
Yeah.
Films or whatever. Films, TV show.
Yeah.
And cinematographer, editor. I mean, this guy did everything.
Oh, I didn't know he was a cinematographer.
Well, that's based on this IMDb thing that I'm looking at, and I just look at all his filmography. He's got clunkers, like you said, like the last one 6 days, 7 nights.
Oh, with Harrison Ford.
Yeah. So his last few Father's Day with
Robin Williams,
and
Billy Crystal
Jr., Kindergarten Cop,
pregnant Arnold
Twins,
Schwarzenegger,
Legal Eagles.
Terrible movie.
Yeah,
Who Believes Deborah Winger?
Cannibal Girls. I didn't know he directed that in 1973. Yeah. So,
yeah,
I don't see the other one you what was it? The Zone, whatever the
Adventures in the Forbidden Zone.
93.
Producer.
See, 93 movies that he Draft Day.
Yeah.
Hitchcock.
Oh, love that movie. Kevin Costner.
Yeah. No Strings Attached. He's produced a ton. Up in the Air. Wow. I Love You, Man.
Which I loved.
So he's a giant, and
his son is picking up the mantle.
He's really spreading
Jason.
the Ghostbusters love and keeping that going. Reitman, his son turned out to be a really good director. So
So quintessential Ivan Reitman for you, if you want to say to somebody, here's an Ivan Reitman film that he directed that I would want you to see, what would it be?
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters,
without a doubt. I would say watch Ghostbusters. And then watch Dave, and just see, and see how different.
I would
those
say
two
the
are.
same thing, except I would say watch Meatballs.
Yeah, but that's so early. How raw does that thing look?
I
haven't seen it in forever, so I don't really know.
I've watched it recently, and you see Bill Murray. At the beginning of his career, he was so young, but it's a cute story.
Yeah.
It's not as raunchy as like Animal House. But it's cute, and I think it shows what he was going to end up becoming. Yeah. I think anyway.
Yeah.
But it's sad. Another guy, and they didn't say how he died, so that seems kind of young.
Yeah.
But I just, like I said, once I found out he died and I started looking up his movies, I was like, oh my God, look at
Well,
these
that's the
movies
thing.
that I loved.
I'm like, oh, we're going to do Ivan Reitman. Let me go on YouTube. And then it's like, holy cow, what?
I know.
He did that one, and I guess, okay, that one's not good, but still he did it. He does that whole Private Parts. He does the whole, on Charlie Rose, talks about how he convinced Howard Stern to do that one. He didn't direct it, but he definitely produced it and had a lot to do with the script. But
isn't that funny, though? You look at like Steven Spielberg, right? At Quentin Tarantino, their name sells a movie.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Well, look at his movies. His name doesn't sell the movie.
No.
Which is weird because you think with this track record it should.
Well, towards the end, the track record wasn't doing so hot. Like when he was doing Evolution and Father's Day, Ivan Reitman films started developing the negative. Like you don't watch this film. It's an Ivan Reitman film, which is too bad because all that early stuff. And now is that a function of him or the actors he picked to do the stuff, the scripts? I mean, I don't know. But it's still he's involved. He had his hands in it,
right?
So and all the stories when these people are doing their memorials on him, they're all positive stories,
right?
They're all saying how nice this person was and how he came in and fixed this, and he had the right idea. He took us in this direction. We wanted to go that way, and he had the sensibilities. They're all saying the same thing, so it's got to be legit. And imagine
that's
his
true.
son,
You don't hear anything bad about him.
No, I know that's what we're getting. When you're watching YouTube, you're not going to get negative stuff. But still,
listen, right? Because you can go on YouTube and find people trash talking directors all the time. You don't find that with him.
And everybody has nothing but positive things to say about the shoots they were on, the sets, the whole deal. Even Dan Aykroyd talking about Ghostbusters 2 and the slime stuff and how many times they had to do that. And it's just they just love the man. And his son was sitting there watching him direct, learning the craft, and then he takes over the Ghostbusters mantle, which is, you got to be. That's. I mean, how can that?
And
not
his
be?
father produces it,
Right. I mean, that's just lovely, and
that is lovely.
It is lovely, and it's a sad thing to see him go. But he's got a great legacy, and he'll be remembered forever. And that's all we ask for. That's all you hope for. What's my legacy? My legacy is going to be laser.
Your legacy is going to be. No, this podcast.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be huge.
You're in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I am. That is true.
You got a legacy, Ralph.
Slight legacy, yeah. But
you've got ex-wives.
I got a couple.
I mean, there's a legacy there.
That's a good point.
Wonderful children.
Yeah, that's
right.
1 out of It's a good ratio. It's a good ratio. So. It's all good.
Anyway, so I know we didn't spend a lot of time on it, but we weren't ripping him apart like Bogdanovich. So this was a much more positive, because I think he frankly deserves some praise that I didn't even realize how much he deserved to be.
Well, I mean, I was
pleasantly surprised by that.
He's getting lots of praise and well-deserved praise.
Well, he is now in having passed.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not in the circles he's in. I'm sure everybody wanted to work with him. Everybody wanted to work with him. So that's praise in itself. And everybody that felt like he had their back when he's doing these films. And and Howard Stern, I keep bringing that back, but that I was completely invested in Howard Stern when his book came out, and nobody knew what his movie was going to be like. And the fact that this guy shaped it the way he shaped it says a lot. And he brought the right people on to get that guy's image correct. And and you add that to Ghostbusters and Meatballs and Dave, and oh my God, he's just it's an amazing thing to watch after the fact and realize how many things he had his fingers in. It's great.
It must be, there's no solace in it, but he got to see his kid reboot.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? No,
his franchise.
Solace, that must be amazing.
And then passed. What a way to go out.
Yeah.
So
it's sad for his family. I think they got a lot of good memories, and
so do we.
Rest in peace.
So do we.
Yep.
All right. Hopefully, we can do a show without anyone dying.
You never know.
So I'm looking forward to that episode.
Yeah,
so
too.
guys, this is kind of a short one, but we appreciate you guys watching and subscribing. Hit the notification button and share it, will you? We want to get more subscribers.
A couple would be nice.
Just a couple more. What do you say? And so that's it. Peacemaker Ghostbusters and Dave, Ghostbusters and Meatballs.
All of them.
Take a look.
Yep, that's right. Oh, you're saying
I
watch
would look
them
at all of them.
watch them in tandem. Yeah.
Yeah. Because one's the big budget. That cast is tremendous.
Yeah.
Like you always say, lightning in a
That's
bottle.
all it is.
And the other two are just, well, first of all, Meatballs was probably made for $100.
Right.
Dave was not a small budget, but it's a quiet movie with Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver. Just a great movie. Yeah, Ving Rhames. I love that. Yeah, Secret Service guy, right?
It's awesome.
I'll take a bullet for you.
Awesome. Yeah.
So check it out and look on his page and see all the stuff he's produced. I think you're going to be surprised. All right, Ralphie, we're going to see you this
rest
week.
in peace, Uncle John.
Rest in peace, Uncle
I'll
John.
See you.
We're going to miss you.
See you this week. And
okay.
all right.
All right, everyone. Have a great week.
Talk to you.
Talk to you soon.